Why? Why must I follow this script? Who wrote these rules? What happens if I simply say no?
And this is where Meursault becomes dangerous, because he asked these questions silently, and he decided not to participate. He chose to exist as he is, not as he should be. And that decision, as simple as it may seem, is revolutionary. Because if everyone had that courage, if everyone stopped following choose scripts and started living according to what they truly feel, the world as we know it would cease to exist.
Society's reaction to Meursault says far more about society than about him. When someone behaves outside expected emotional norms, when someone refuses conventional performances, when someone does not reproduce shared moral codes, society does not try to understand. It condemns. Because Meursault's very existence is a threat. If he can live without pretending, then maybe we are all pretending. If he can exist without following emotional rules, then maybe those rules are arbitrary. If he can look at life and declare it devoid of inherent meaning, then maybe all our certainties are nothing more than shared illusions.
And society does not tolerate those who expose its illusions, so it turns him into a monster. It calls him cold, insensitive, dangerous. It claims that someone incapable of crying for his mother is capable of any atrocity, and in doing so, it creates a narrative that places him outside humanity, allowing everyone else to feel safely inside it. Because it is easier to point at him and say, he is different, he is the problem, than to admit that maybe we too live disconnected, that we too pretend, that we too perform emotions we do not truly feel. At its core, the rejection of Meursault is a desperate defense against the possibility that he might be right and that we might all be wrong. Watch how this works in your own life when you meet someone who does not follow social rules, someone excessively honest, someone who does not fake interest when they are bored, someone who does not perform empathy they do not feel. What is your first reaction? Discomfort? Judgment? The sense that something is wrong with that person, simply because they break the implicit social agreement that we will all pretend together, keep up appearances, play normality, so that no one has to face the disturbing truth that maybe none of this is real.
And when someone refuses to play this game, when someone insists on being authentic even when it is socially unacceptable, you experience it as a personal threat. Because if this person can exist without a mask, why can't you? If they can tell the truth without being destroyed, why do you keep lying? And these questions are too dangerous to be asked. So instead of facing them, you simply condemn the person who made them arise. You place them in the category of the strange, the different, the problematic. And in doing so, you protect yourself from having to look at your own life and admit that maybe you too are a stranger, just a stranger who has learned to hide better.
Meursault's trial is a farce, not because he would be innocent of the crime, but because the court is not truly interested in what happened on the beach. What is being judged is not the act of killing the Arab man, but Meursault's inability to display acceptable remorse, to perform guilt convincingly, to pretend that he understands the moral gravity of his act. The prosecutor does not only accuse him of homicide, he accuses him of not crying at his mother's funeral, of going to the cinema the next day, of not believing in God, of living without a clear purpose, of existing outside society's emotional codes.
And the jury, made up of people who follow those same codes, who believe in the same shared illusions, who need to believe that life has meaning and that morality is absolute, condemns Meursault not for what he did, but for what he is, someone who refuses to lie. If he had cried, if he had invented a story of remorse, if he had played the expected guilt, he might have been acquitted. But he cannot, or will not, pretend. And this brutal honesty is precisely what condemns him. The court punishes authenticity and rewards socially acceptable falsehood.
revealing an uncomfortable truth. Society prefers comforting lies to disturbing truth. It prefers the one who performs remorse to the one who admits indifference. It prefers the illusion of meaning to the recognition of the absurd. Think about how our systems of justice work, not only legal justice, but social justice as well. When someone makes a mistake, what does society demand? Not only that they stop, but that they perform remorse, that they cry in public, that they make emotional statements, that they visibly and theatrically demonstrate they understand the gravity of what they did. And if they do not, if they simply acknowledge the mistake and move on without the expected emotional theater, they are often judged more harshly than someone who may feel less but performs better. We value demonstration more than substance. We want the spectacle of redemption, not redemption itself. And this reveals something profound about how we build our values. They are not founded on truth, but on convention, not on essence, but on appearance, not on being, but on seeming.
Meursault refuses this game. He does not say he does not regret. He simply cannot fabricate a remorse he does not feel. And for that, in the eyes of the court, he is worse than an ordinary murderer. He is someone who challenges the very foundation of social morality, someone who exposes that our moral certainties rest on collective performances, on tacit agreements, on mutually accepted lies. And when these lies are exposed, when someone refuses to participate in the moral theater, society panics.
Because if morality depends on pretending, then maybe it is not as solid as we thought. Maybe it is just another fragile construction we keep alive through repetition, through shared performance, through refusing to admit that, deep down, no one really knows what is good or evil, only what is expected. In a world built on masks, brutal sincerity becomes revolutionary.
Meursault does not fake compassion he does not feel. He does not invent stories to appear more human. He does not adjust his answers to please others' expectations. And this makes him profoundly dangerous, because his existence questions the very foundation of social order. If we all had Meursault's courage, if we all said only what we truly feel, if we all lived according to what genuinely matters to us, without pretending, without performing, without constantly adjusting, society as we know it would collapse. Because so many of our interactions are built on polite lies, so many of our relationships rest on mutual pretending, so many of our institutions depend on the fact that we all agree to believe in the same illusions. Meursault exposes that we are all participating in a collective theater, and that the play continues only because no one has the courage to say out loud that the emperor has no clothes. But there is also something deeply human in this need for shared illusions. Maybe we need them. Maybe without them, without the lies we tell one another and ourselves, without comforting stories about love, justice, purpose, life would become unbearable. Maybe Meursault is right in his honesty, but maybe that honesty is also a form of cruelty, not toward others, but toward the very possibility of living together in a community.
And perhaps that is exactly what Camus wants to show us, that there is no easy answer, that both lying and truth carry their own violence, and that each of us must decide which violence we are willing to bear. Because there is violence in lying. There is violence in spending your whole life pretending, never showing who you truly are, dying without anyone ever really knowing you. But there is also violence in being brutally honest, in refusing every form of social kindness, in constantly exposing the fragility of the collective constructions that allow people to keep functioning.
Maybe the question is not to choose between total honesty and total lying, but to find a fragile middle ground, a place where you can be true to yourself without completely destroying others. But Meursault does not find that balance. He lives at the extreme of honesty, and he pays the price for it. And by paying that price, he forces us to ask the question, is it worth it? Is it worth being authentic if it means being eternally alone? Is it worth refusing masks if it means never belonging? Is it worth living in truth if it means always being in conflict with the world? There is no easy answer, but the simple act of asking these questions is already revolutionary because most people never ask them. Most accept the masks, accept the lies, accept the theater, and continue living without questioning. And maybe they are right. Maybe life is easier that way. But does easier mean better? Does comfort mean truth? Is belonging to a false world better than being alone in your authenticity?
At the end of the book, Meursault has a revelation. While waiting for his execution, he looks at his life and realizes that he has been happy. Not because he accomplished something great, not because he found a transcendent purpose, but because he lived according to what he was, without pretending, without adjusting, without betraying himself. And in this realization lies something few ever reach: true freedom. The freedom that is born from accepting the absurd, from recognizing that life has no predefined meaning, and that it is precisely for that reason that each moment can receive the meaning we choose to give it.
Meursault understands that his entire life was a preparation for this awareness. He lived authentically without realizing its value. And now, on the eve of death, he finally understands that the absence of meaning is not a prison, but a liberation. Because if nothing matters objectively, then anything can matter subjectively. If there is no script to follow, then we are free to write our own. If there is no divine purpose, then we can create our own purpose.
And this freedom is both terrifying and exhilarating. It places us before total responsibility. We can no longer blame God, fate, society, or circumstances. We are radically free, radically responsible, radically alone. And it is precisely this solitude that allows us for the first time to truly exist, not as copies of an external ideal, but as the authors of our own lives.
But think about the weight of that. Think about waking up one day and realizing that you are entirely responsible for every choice you have made and will make. That there is no one to blame when things go wrong. That there is no destiny guiding you, no cosmic plan waiting for you. That you are alone in front of an indifferent universe, and that the only thing that gives meaning to your life is the meaning you create yourself. It is terrifying. It is paralyzing. It is the vertigo of total freedom. And most people run from that vertigo. They prefer to believe in destiny, in divine purpose, in a higher plan, in anything that removes the unbearable weight of total responsibility. But Meursault does not run. He accepts. And in that acceptance, he finds a peace that those who follow scripts, dogmas, and external purposes never find. Because Meursault's peace depends on nothing outside himself. Not on divine approval, not on social recognition, not on material achievements. It comes from within, from this deep understanding that he is free, that he always has been, that freedom was there from the beginning, but that he was too busy searching for an external meaning to see it.
And perhaps that is what Camus wants to tell us, that the search for meaning is sometimes the prison itself. That as long as you look for a purpose outside yourself, you will never be truly free. That only when you accept that there is no objective purpose can you create your own. That only when you stop searching for answers can you begin to live the questions. That only when you accept the absurd can you begin to fully exist.
Camus' warning could not be more explicit. To live cut off from yourself, to perform emotions you do not feel, to follow scripts you never chose, is already a kind of death within life. It is to exist without truly living, to breathe without sensing, to occupy space without ever inhabiting the world. And the tragedy is not Meursault, who at least had the courage to remain faithful to himself until the very end. The tragedy lies in all those who spend their lives pretending, adapting, slowly betraying themselves, until one day they wake up and realize they no longer know who they are, that they have lost all contact with what they once called their essence.
How many people live this way? How many wake up every morning and put on a mask before they even brush their teeth?
How many go to work playing one role, come home playing another, meet friends playing yet another? And how many, at the end of the day, alone with themselves, discover that nothing real is left? Camus tells us that this is the true horror, not physical death, but emotional death disguised as normality. Not the end of life, but an entire life lived without presence. And what is most frightening is how widespread it is, how accepted it has become, how deeply it is even encouraged.
An authentic person is dangerous because they question, they unsettle, they expose collective lies. So we prefer people who are dead inside, as long as they are polite, well-adjusted, and properly integrated into the system. We prefer functional zombies to living, uncomfortable human beings. Look at your own path. When did you start betraying yourself? When did you decide that being accepted mattered more than being true? When did you trade authenticity for approval, presence for performance, essence for appearance? Was it a single moment or a slow process, a gradual erosion of your truth, until one day you woke up and realized you no longer knew who you were? And the worst part is not having done it once. The worst part is continuing to do it every day, knowing that you are doing it. Feeling the pain of that constant betrayal, yet being unable to stop. Because stopping would mean facing everything you have built on lies. It would mean admitting that you wasted time living someone else's life. It would mean starting again from nothing, with no guarantee it would work. So you go on. You keep acting, you keep pretending, you keep dying slowly on the inside, while smiling on the outside. And you call that being an adult. Responsibility. Maturity. But Camus challenges you. This is not maturity. It is cowardice disguised as pragmatism. It is death dressed up as life. It is the absurd accepted without awareness, endured without revolt, lived without questioning. If Meursault was disturbing in 1942, imagine what he would say about the world today. We live in an age of industrial-scale alienation.
We wake up and the first thing we do is reach for our phones. Not because we truly want to, but because we have become addicted to the instant dopamine they provide. We scroll through endless feeds of curated lives, staged happiness, edited success stories, and we compare our messy reality to these polished fictions, always feeling insufficient. Then we go to work to perform tasks that do not matter to us, in organizations we do not respect, for salaries that barely cover survival. And we call this making a living, when in truth, we are losing our lives, trading time for money, presence for survival, authenticity for security.
We come back home exhausted and collapse in front of a screen, consuming series, videos, content of any kind, anything that can fill the void, anything that can distract us from the uncomfortable question, why am I living? We have thousands of digital connections and almost no real ones. We are constantly stimulated and yet profoundly bored. We are free to do anything and incapable of doing anything that truly matters.
And the worst part is that we have normalized this. We call it adult life, responsibility, realism. We say, that's just how it is, and we keep going, drifting farther and farther from ourselves, becoming strangers in our own existence. Meursault is no longer a literary exception. He is the portrait of modern humanity. And if that does not frighten us, it may be because we are already asleep. Think about how many hours of your day you spend on autopilot. You wake up, grab your phone, scroll without really seeing anything, consuming empty stimulation. You get ready, repeating the same mechanical gestures. You go to work along the same route, greet the same people with the same hollow phrases. You perform the same tasks you did yesterday and will repeat tomorrow. You come home, eat quickly, drop onto the couch, watch something you won't remember. You sleep. And the next day, it starts again. And you call this life.
But how many of these moments have you truly lived? How many times were you actually present? How many did you choose consciously instead of simply following the automatic script that was programmed into you? And when you stop and really think about it, when you look honestly at your life and realize that you are living on automatic mode, that you are surviving instead of living, functioning instead of existing, what do you feel? You feel that Meursault sensation, that deep indifference, that disconnection, that impression of watching your own life from a distance.
And then you understand. You are also a stranger. You are also alienated. You are also dead inside life. The difference is that Meursault admitted it, and you keep pretending that everything is fine.
But maybe there is a way out. Maybe the first step is to recognize the stranger within you. That quiet voice that observes everything from afar, that never truly connects to what you are doing, that feels like it is living someone else's life, that is tired of pretending, tired of acting, tired of constantly adjusting. This voice is not the problem. It is lucidity. It is the part of you that is still alive, that still refuses to accept the collective lie, that still senses that something is deeply wrong.
And recognizing this is not a defeat, it is a beginning, because you cannot change what you refuse to see. You cannot live authentically if you do not admit that you are living falsely. You cannot reconnect with yourself if you keep pretending that everything is fine. Looking at your own alienation hurts. Admitting that you live on autopilot, that your emotions are mechanical, that your relationships are superficial, that your life does not have the meaning you claim it has, this hurts. But this pain is necessary. It is the price of awareness. And without awareness, there is no transformation.
You can continue functioning forever, adjusted, well-behaved, socially accepted, emotionally dead. Or you can wake up. You can look at the truth, however uncomfortable it may be. You can stop pretending. You can begin to live according to what you truly feel, according to what truly matters to you, according to who you really are. And yes, it will cost you. It will cost relationships built on masks. It will cost social approval. It will cost the illusion of security. But what you gain in return is the only thing that truly matters, the chance to be genuinely alive, to be truly yourself, to live a life that is authentically yours.
And listen, I know it sounds impossible. I know that when you look at your life, at all your obligations, all the expectations, all the masks you wear, it feels like there is no exit, like you are trapped in the role you have built, like it is too late for change, like authenticity is a luxury you cannot afford. But Camus would tell you, you can always choose. You have always been free. The prison is in your mind, not in reality. The chains that bind you are built by you, maintained by you, and can be broken by you. It will not be easy. It will not be quick. It will not be painless, but it will be real. And after a lifetime of falseness, that may be the most important thing you ever do.
Because recognizing the stranger within you is not admitting defeat. It is admitting the truth. It is looking at yourself without judgment and saying, yes, I am alienated. Yes, I am disconnected. Yes, I live on automatic mode. And no, this is not all I can be. That admission, as painful as it is the first step toward any real change, because you cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot change what you will not admit. You cannot wake up if you keep pretending that you already are.
Camus does not offer a ready-made answer. He does not tell you what to do. He does not promise salvation. He does not guarantee that everything will turn out fine. He simply places you before a choice, to keep sleeping or to wake up, to keep pretending or to begin living, to keep following choose scripts or to write your own. And that choice is terrifying, because waking up means taking full responsibility for your existence.
It means accepting that there is no one to blame, no destiny to follow, no guarantee that you are doing the right thing.
But it also means freedom. It means that you can create the meaning of your life, that you can choose what matters, that you can decide who you want to be. There is no right answer. There is no guaranteed path. There is only you, facing the absurd, facing the silence of the universe, facing the impossibility of absolute certainty, deciding what to do with the time you have. And perhaps that is exactly where beauty lies.
Maybe life does not need to have a universal meaning to be worth living. Maybe each moment can be enough if you are truly present in it. Maybe you do not need to be someone important, to achieve great things, to leave a legacy. Maybe it is enough to be alive, to feel deeply, to connect authentically, to live according to what is real within you. Meursault discovered this too late, on the eve of his own death. But you still have time. You can still choose to stop being a stranger in your own life. You can choose to wake up. You can choose to live. And that choice, as simple as it may sound, is the bravest one you can make. Because choosing to truly live means choosing to truly feel. And to truly feel means letting go of the protections, the masks, the defenses you have built over the years to avoid suffering. It means allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to be seen as you really are. It means risking rejection, risking loneliness, risking failure. It means giving up the safety of automatic living in exchange for the uncertainty of conscious life. And many people are not ready to make that exchange. They prefer the safety of the prison to the insecurity of freedom. They prefer the predictability of being dead inside life to the unpredictability of being fully alive. And that is fine. Everyone makes their choices, and everyone lives with their consequences.
But if you are reading this, if you have come this far, if something in these words has resonated with you, then maybe you are different. Maybe you are someone who is tired of pretending, tired of acting, tired of living on autopilot. Maybe you are someone who is ready to wake up, even if you still have no idea what to do once you are awake. And that is already enough. Because awakening does not come with an instruction manual. It does not come with guarantees. It does not come with certainties. It comes only with that uncomfortable clarity that you can no longer keep living the way you have been living. And sometimes that clarity is all you need to begin. So stop for a moment. Look at your life. Ask yourself how many of the things you do are truly yours. How many choices you made because you wanted them, and how many because they were expected. How much of your life is authentic, and how much is performance. How much of you is truly present, and how much is simply functioning on automatic mode. These questions hurt, but they have to be asked, because the alternative is to spend your entire life as a stranger, present in the body, absent from the experience, living a life that was never really your own. And when you reach the end, when you look back, what will hurt more? Having lived imperfectly but truthfully, or having lived flawlessly but falsely? Camus already answered. Meursault already answered. Now it is your turn to answer. And there is no right or wrong answer. There is only your answer. And it will determine whether you live or merely survive, whether you exist or simply function, whether you remain a stranger or finally become yourself. And listen, I know all of this can feel heavy. It can sound bleak. It can leave you feeling even more lost. But I am not saying this to frighten you. I am saying it because maybe you need to hear it. Maybe you need to know that you are not alone in this feeling of displacement, that there is nothing wrong with you for not fitting perfectly into the world, that the feeling of being a stranger is not a defect, it is awareness. And awareness hurts, but it also frees. Because when you finally stop pretending, when you finally admit that you are tired of playing,
When you finally look at the truth and accept the absurd, something shifts. You realize that you do not need external approval to exist, that you do not need to follow a predefined script to have value, that you do not need to achieve anything grand for your life to matter. You are already enough. You always have been.
And maybe it is time to start living as if you truly believed that. Not tomorrow, not after you achieve this or that, not when you finally feel ready. Now. Because this moment is all you have, and it can be enough if you allow it to be.